So thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. This was my attempt at forging a traditional Scandinavian / Nordic hewing axe or broad axe, depending on how you translate it. In Sweden we call them bila. Bilyxa is usually what we call them. And this was based on a model that I saw in a blacksmithing book, and it's based off of a 18th century style hewing axe. Now, I have been trying to figure out the differences between the Finnish colored axes and the Swedish colored axes. Now, this part of the axe that goes down on the wood is the collar, and it's hard to establish exactly what is the difference, because some people call it the Swedish eye and some people call it the Finnish eye. And if you look at differences between them, the Finnish eye usually was thicker and the Swedish eye usually was a little bit thinner. And from what I can see, now this is only me guessing, I don't really know, and from the only thing I could find on the internet was that they were made differently. Now, was this made by the Finnish model or the Swedish model? I don't know, because I do know that one of the ways that the Swedes used to make the axes was that they folded and forge welded together the whole socket or the collar on the axe, and but I don't know how the Finnish guys did it. So it could be that they also did that, or they used this method, because if you look at some of the axes from that time, it actually kind of looks somewhat like this, but in a newer kind of shape. So I can't answer that question yet, but I will try to figure it out more. So forging this axe was probably the hardest thing that I ever forged before. There are so many elements that need to align, and just getting the collar to stick to the main body part and trying to forge weld that without tack welding it was super hard. It slipped all the time, so I had to really work it before it really welded, and it was very hard to get it right. And yeah, sure, I could have tack welded it in place and it would have stayed there, and that would be the smart thing to do, but I wanted to try not to do it, just to try it. If I would have done it again, I would probably have done that, because that would be the easy way, but I wanted to see how it was not doing that. I don't know if they had any methods of doing that before. I would sure like to know if and how. So the other part here, you can see the hammer part of the axe is an old file, and someone was asking me, well, why do you use an old file? Isn't that too hard to be hammering with? The thing is that in the book that I bought, they actually didn't harden that part, because even a file material unhardened is harder than iron, which the rest of the axe is supposed to be made of. So just having a little bit of steel there is harder than iron, and usually they weren't made with to hammer with. You used a hammer if you wanted to hammer, but if you didn't have anything close by, you could use that and it would hold up better than iron. That's the conclusion I can get from it. Now, I'm no expert in this area at all. I am discovering this as we speak, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the axes and stuff like that. So I run into a lot of problems trying to forge this axe. The first problem was that the collar that I made was too small. So if you actually see, if you pay close attention, it clips from when I'm going to forge weld on the hammer part. I actually have a bigger piece, and that's because I had to start over, because when I folded the earliest collar, I realized that it was way too small, so I had to start over with the body. And if I would do it again, I would probably even use a thicker piece, and even I would keep the collar thicker because it's very thin at the moment. I would also use a bigger piece for the main body, so that it is a bit thicker. It's quite thin now, to be honest. The only thing that really worked out as planned was the blade part, and what you saw me do was that I had this sandwich with the spring steel in the middle and a wrought iron on the sides. I used wrought iron on that for some reason, and then I hit it with the power hammer in the middle, so that it created a fuller in the middle, and then I flattened out one side of it, and that's where I welded onto the main body, and the other side became like an arrow. So yeah, that's how I made that, and that is probably the only part that I'm really satisfied with. The other parts are okay, but if I would do it once more, I would take care. I would really try to have a better starting material, and you know, if I were to start over, I would really try to plan each part more than I did this time. This time it was like a reckless test drive, basically. And also the handle material that I chose is Moser birch, very beautiful pattern, but in my opinion not optimal for access. I think it's too soft. Some people disagree with me, but my experience with it is that it's way too soft. Very flexible, but very soft. I like it a little bit more sturdy. So ash or hickory is my favorite. It was very tricky to heat treat it because, or even work with it, because my forge is not big enough for this kind of axe. It barely fit in. So yeah. So there are things that I would redo if I did it again, but overall I'm pretty happy with the experience, and I hope that you learned something from this as well, and that you got inspired to try it or something like that. So if you have any questions at all, or if you know anything about the differences between Swedish and Finnish colored axes, please write a comment. Or if you have any question or suggestion on what you would like me to try to forge next, please leave that in the comment section as well. If you like the video, please like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.